Hello, and welcome back to LTC Heroes Live. We are participating in a really cool annual retreat with Foundations Health Solutions. It's called the LTC Heroes Summit 2022. Today I'm talking to Rebecca Weiss. She's an RN. Rebecca, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Rebecca, the morning, I don't know for you, obviously you saw me cry. The morning was emotional. The morning was cathartic in the sense that people put a lot of words to what we've been going through during the pandemic that I hadn't been able to process.
Right.
What did the morning feel like for you?
It's the same way. It is very emotional. It brings it back when it was harder times. It's getting a little bit easier now, but you just never know. You kind of wait for that next, if a pandemic should break out again, wondering what you will do and how you'll handle it.
How long have you been in long-term care?
Since 1995.
Tell me your initiation story, and before you answer that, I want you to think in as much detail. When did you, what do you remember? Were you scared? Did you get in because some aunt told you, hey, this is where you get a job in high school? Give me as much detail as that you can remember.
Okay, this is funny. When I started nursing school, it was the only thing that didn't have speech class. So I decided I was going to be a nurse.
This is amazing.
I started out when I was during my clinicals. Long-term care was the worst thing. I cried every day. I would go in, the sounds, the smell, the look of the people, the sadness. Every day I come home and said I was going to quit. My parents said, no, you will not. You will finish and you will like it. So I finished. One of my first jobs was in surgery. I like that. I did that. And I did move to South Carolina for a little while. And there was this new place that opened up. It was a long-term care facility. And I thought, wow, that looks really fancy, really nice. I went in there, and now the elderly population is my thing. I just always go back. I even stopped nursing and went to real estate school just to try something different because I love real estate, but I don't love realtors.
I think real estate, you definitely have to practice speech.
Yes, and they're aggressive. They don't have compassion. It's a cutthroat business, and I thought this is not for me, so I went right back to nursing.
And tell me, and I like to get in, especially since you've kind of jumped around and you dabbled in different industries.
Mm-hmm.
I like to think about how long-term care has changed you. What would you say are the lessons that you have taken home from these years of learning from America's seniors?
I definitely appreciate my life. I want to take time slow. I don't want to rush through anything because you can definitely see how fast your life goes. You don't want to miss opportunities. It's fragile, and it's right there in your face to see what you're going to become. You can see it every day that could be you or that could be you, and we don't really have a choice over that.
I'm going to ask you what you feel like you learned about yourself from the pandemic, but I want to just kind of share some of the highlights from the morning workshop that we did. And people said that it was devastating. Someone said I definitely had PTSD. Another person said we're still grieving. One person just wanted to shout out for the entire team. Another person said we're still not hugging people even though we can now. What did you learn from those observations? How do you think that those things had an impact on you, and what did you learn about yourself?
Well, I'm kind of the person when their emergency happens, I kind of just step up. I didn't take it as I'm running from this, I'm afraid of this. I used all my precautions that I've learned, and I just did it. It was my job. I went to work every day. I didn't shy away. I went home, I protected my family like I should, and I come back the next day.
When we asked everyone at the beginning to share one of their biggest memories, you wrote down something on a paper and you shared it with someone you didn't know. That person volunteered you to come and join me on the podcast. What was the story you shared with them? My
story was probably about 2005. Worked in a long-term care facility, and if I can say her name, she's passed on. Her name was Marjorie Ann Edwards. And she was kind of my favorite. And she would always get a little weepy when her son, Bob, would go out of town. So and he would come every evening. So every evening he was out on vacation, I would stay with her for about an hour or two so we could watch like Jeopardy or Wheel of Fortune. So she had that time. And each morning she would be sitting on the couch and she'd tell me, "You got a little faith in your pocket?" And she always reminded me that every day you had to keep a little faith in your pocket. And I remember as she started to get sick and she passed away, I was just really bummed. We had the same birthday. She passed when she was 50 years older than me, but I named my daughter Bella Faith after her telling me to keep a little faith in my pocket. So I always have my little daughter in my pocket all the time.
That is a beautiful story. I haven't met anybody on the podcast yet who named their child after something relevant to long-term care. That's unique.
I always remember that because I'll always have her with me.
You know, underneath every good RN, there's some amazing STNAs. In the morning, I asked you to visualize what a great frontline caregiver looks like. What were the thoughts that came to your mind, the values?
Your STNAs. Your STNAs can make your day or break your day. And if you just want to dictate order to them and not help them, I think we're all there as a team and everybody should jump in and help, and nobody should be saying that's not my job, because we're there together to take care with the same goal.
And then I asked everybody in the room to shout out somebody they were thinking of. Who did you think of?
Bethany, she came with me. And I guess I also would say Ben. He is our maintenance man. And he might be doing maintenance, but he jumps right in. He picks things up for people, ties their shoes. He'll help pass trays. It doesn't matter. Ben jumps in and does everything.
What I love today, the very first person I met when I walked into the room today from Foundations was a maintenance guy. Mm-hmm. And, Bob Spielman, kind of the VP of culture, he understands that it's not about the title. It's not if you're administrator, you're
right.
Executive director, RN, whatsoever. What do you think it is about, I guess I'm going to rephrase that question. You knowing Ben, what do you think draws him to long-term care? Is it the same thing that makes you tick?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he has a big heart. He's always smiling. He's never in a bad mood. He seems to love his job. And he spends a lot of time with the residents one-on-one. He's like, "Hey, buddy." He gives them high fives, hugs them, he just fits right. You'd think he was one of the nurses. But, yeah, he does a really good job.
I want to ask you about your leadership style. You have a lot of people underneath you to make sure that you're delivering amazing care. How would you describe your leadership style?
I'm definitely not demanding. I don't like demanding and bossing. But instead of telling somebody, I will ask them to, let's go do this together, and kind of coerce them that way rather than telling them what to do. I really don't like someone to come and tell me, go make them do this. So I'd say, well, let's go do this. This needs to get done. So I try to do the cooperation thing.
I wanna take a break to thank our sponsor, and then we're gonna move into some quotes that I want to get your reflection on.
Okay.
All right, confession time. Yes, I host the LTC Heroes podcast, and hopefully you know that by now, but I can't take all the credit. Jason Long, the CEO of Experience Care, told me 2 years ago when we started this show that this new audio platform had to create value for everyone, whether you're a client of Experience Care's electronic healthcare records or not. He then encouraged me to become a CNA to really help LTC Heroes resonate with caregivers and leaders, and between me and you, he really knew what he was talking about. LTC Heroes has been invited to almost 10 conventions this year alone to finally shine a light on what leaders like you have been doing for decades. It's that sort of knowledge in the industry that really makes me appreciate Experience Care, which has developed customizable and intuitive EHR that makes clinical, financial, and billing processes more efficient and accurate. It transforms workflows into something that makes sense so you can focus on what really matters, caring about your residents. The software is used by assisted living, SNFs, and CCRCs, big and small facilities alike. Countless users have reached out and shared with me that it's really effective in helping them improve their outcomes. I can honestly say that I know my parents would be proud to learn that I work at a place like Experience Care. And we're back. We were just sharing about how unique the organization is in Foundations, and that makes me kind of change up one of the questions that I want to ask, that I want to share with you. And it's going to go straight to kind of feedback. And it's a quote from Bill Walsh. And it says, "Nothing is more effective than sincere, accurate praise, and nothing is more lame than a cookie-cutter compliment." How do you feel appreciated at foundations?
Well, I mean, they do a lot of things for you, but they will come personally and tell you when nobody else is around. Thank you. I appreciate you. I get text messages from my DON. I'll get a text message from my administrator. Thank you for your hard work today. We really appreciate you. I mean, that's the best thing you can get, is being told you're really appreciated for what you do.
I want to ask you kind of a question that's in relation to what's your favorite part about the hustle and bustle of long-term care? And it's from an author named Jerome, and it says, I like work. It fascinates me. I can sit and look at it for hours. What's your favorite thing to observe in long-term care?
There's all kind of things to observe. I work in a Alzheimer's dementia unit. Most of the time, they kind of stick me over there a lot. I kind of blend with them people. I love to watch their expressions, how they interact with each other, the things that you learn from them. Sometimes there's not a lot of time to sit back and just watch, but you are hustling the whole day. And if you like to work, you're going to work in long-term care, that's for sure.
I want to move to some rapid-fire questions.
Mm-hmm.
My rapid-fire question for you is, what's something that you've done in the last year that you're extremely proud of? And it could be you hired someone, you trained somebody.
Oh, extremely proud. I don't feel like I take recognition of much things to be extremely proud of. I try to be proud of the work that I do every day. Sometimes I leave and I feel like things are left undone, but it's just taking care of the people. I don't have one particular thing that I would be extremely proud of, but I do my best every day.
My last question for you as we wrap up is, if you could have a gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it on the highway that hundreds of thousands of people could see every day, what would it say and why?
Well, I would like them to come work for Cumberland Point, and I think everybody needs to learn a little more compassion. So teach your kids compassion. That's what children need to learn these days. So I think it would be something on the lines of that.
Great. Rebecca, thank you so much for joining LTC Heroes. It was a pleasure. I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad you were invited to the summit.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Want to connect with leaders in long-term care? Go to www.ltcheroes.com to join our community on Facebook and LinkedIn. Get exclusive access to marketing tips, SOPs, and insights from prominent voices in the industry. Only at ltcheroes.com.